This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net. Welcome to the rant on NewClevelandRadio.net. On behalf of Barbara Rose Brooker and myself, we are proud to announce this podcast series is now being sponsored by, drumroll, Dawn Creations. Donnie Osborne provides graphics and media design, as well as music production and social media management. Now, I want you to know, if you go listen to Age March 2021, you will hear the fantastic music and you'll see the creations of Donnie as well as his partner, Ben Rose. So, again, we are now having a production sponsored by Don E. Creations. However, before we get started, I just mentioned agemarch.org. And in 2020, Barbara said to me, "You know, Karen, my dream started 10 years ago. And for the 10th year anniversary, here we are in a pandemic. And how do we have an age march?" So, what did I say to her? "Oh, let's do it on Zoom." I had no idea what I was talking about, guys. I just knew it could be done. So, thank you to Suzy Unger, her phenomenal daughter, who put together a crew. And that's how we got to know Donnie, Ben, and Anita, who will be on today. But in addition to Suzy, I want to thank the two producers. Without them, we could not have done this. And without them, we couldn't keep growing the rant. So, on behalf of Julie Stern and the Colonel, and please don't ask me to tell you his last name, just go to agemarch.org, you'll find it there. Barbara's dream for all of us has come true. We are all aging, but we are all living magnificently. Barbara, I am so glad we are finally back on the air after 2 weeks because Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I need to have my shot in the arm called Barbara Rose Brooker.
Oh, Karen, thank you. Oh my God, woo woo. I am so happy to be back on the rant. And I could cry because Age March, the virtual Age March, was just what, a week ago. And it's on YouTube. Everybody go on YouTube and see this incredible Hollywood production, first Age March in history, for all ages, all race, all everything. But what really, really got it off the ground are my guests today, our guests today. First of all, Donnie Osborne, let me tell you, now I have a million notes and things written out that, I can read, and I'm going to not talk too much today. I have a tendency to get excited and talk too much, but I'm just going to say that we are very lucky to have Donnie Osborne today because to me, art is the food of life. And we have real artists on today. Donnie's visual imagery to advertise, in my words, the Age March is what made Age March noticed in social media. Every day I'm getting inquiries. Who made those magnificent images to advertise Age March? Donnie Osborne did. Let me tell you a little bit about Donnie Osborne. He's a graduate of the Art Institute of Atlanta. He is a born genius as far as I'm concerned. He designs visuals like you've never seen. And I could go on and on and on. He composes music. And like I say, he composed with his composer, his music partner, the music and theme for the agemarch.org. So welcome, Donnie Osborne. I want to also introduce Anita Osborne, his mom. And Anita is an incredible artist. I have her magnificent bottle art right behind me. You can see them on a table, and we're going to look at them. to me, it's just amazing. Anita lives in Connecticut. Correct me if I'm wrong, and we can go over biographical details later. And you can give information, people can look you up, because I don't want to take the time away from you and going over all your, but you've been retired twice, which I thought was interesting. Big jobs, we'll go into that later. But now this bottle art, and I say now, I'm sure the art has been your whole life, but you're executing these magnificent sculptures made from bottles. Last but not least, we're introducing Ben Rose, who lives in, where is it, Ben, exactly?
It's Aberdeen, the third biggest city in Scotland. So it's the northeast of Scotland.
Northeast of Scotland.
It's
okay.
the oil capital of Europe, apparently.
Oh, really? Don't you love the accent, listeners? Oh my God, I love it. We probably sound like cows. Let me just say, Ben was born in France and raised in Scotland. He performs, composes, and produces music since his teens. He plays the guitar with various bands. He supported the likes of the Supremes, Bryan Adams, Deacon Blue. There's many more. I don't have time to list them all. He's recorded, composed, and produced music in various studios in the UK, including the world famous Trident Studios in London, where many classical recordings, including the Beatles, Elton John, and others. So I'm very honored to have you here today, Ben. And I'm just going to start this off and with one question. It's not really a question. I want to say, first of all, you gave agemarch.org a look, Donnie, a design and a look, and then Ben and you gave it a sound. But I want to know, the three of you, how art lives with you and how you live with art. Art is your life and life is your art, and how your art not only enhances you as people, but is helping make a difference in the world, how you promote your art. And let's just start talking. Who wants to go first? Let's start with Anita and her bottles, her bottle art. Anita, first of all, can everyone see the bottles behind her? I mean, look at those. And they're just absolutely magnificent. Every single one is beaded, every single one. As I say, you can see mine behind me, and I've been looking at them, and they do remind me of beautiful sculptures like African masks, and the designs in them, they have a presence. I want to know, when did you start? You've always been an artist, of course. That isn't something you just pick out of a drawer. You've always been an artist. But when did you start the bottles, and why bottles?
Well, actually, I've always done something, as you say, with my hands. I've always had to do something. I love clay. But as my children got older, actually, they were quite young when I wanted to get back into my crafts. And I had twins unexpectedly. So it was a really sudden change in my life. So I couldn't do my artistic things. But I started doing the bottles because I could no longer do clay. I didn't have a kiln, and I couldn't do what I wanted to do. So I kept looking at, as a kid, I hated to see things thrown away. I always figured there's a use of them. So I started with, in Girl Scouts, we used to do paper mache bottles. You would take old bottles and put paper mache around them. And so I just kept building on that concept, but then I let it go for a while. And then after retirement, my husband and I started a small business, which was, he was still working, I was retired, and we started doing what we called Oz jobs. We would do dump runs and cleanups, and I would run across these different shaped bottles. And I was like, I really want to go back into doing that again. And I've always saved little odd things, shells and different sized string, things like that. I've always accumulated. So I've always had drawers full of things like that.
Found objects, yes.
Yes, yes. And so, and then broken jewelry. I've always
Yes.
been attracted to broken jewelry. So
Yes.
over time, I went from paper mache to putting something on top of the paper mache, and it started with string. And I started different types of string. And the thing I like about string is it's like me, it's totally imperfect. Natural string has all different levels. You can start winding and think, oh, this is perfect. It goes around, and all of a sudden there's a lump in it or a string or something. And you have to figure out how to use it or start all over. So that was the beginning of bottle art.
So, oh, they're wrapped with string underneath. Yes, I see.
It's literally string. It's not beads at all.
Uh-huh.
But I do have some in which I incorporate something like this that has, this
Can you
has,
hold that up? Oh,
see
oh,
this,
that's beautiful with the shells.
yeah, these are stones. And this is a mask, and then it's string. So this is all string.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Well, in a way, it's like Joseph Cornell made his boxes with all the found objects and broken things in it.
Right.
You're really sculpting and painting and doing the same thing, only with bottles,
Mhm.
which I find so interesting. So, now, you're doing bottles? Are they changing all the time?
Yes, actually, I really like the natural look. Let me see. I started with, this is a bottle I made for Donnie, actually.
Oh, hold that up. Oh, that is wonderful.
And he
That's
keeps
kind
it
of
here.
like mine.
Right, right. So I kind of like the natural look. I like things in their natural, the way they're formed. But a lot of, I've given them as gifts and sold them from time to time. And a lot of people wanted color. So I started doing different things that have some color to them.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
But yeah, they evolve.
How do you get the color? Do you paint?
I paint them.
Is it acrylic?
Acrylic paint.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you're painting, sculpting, designing.
Yeah.
And
My first color was actually shoestring. Polish, like this shoe polish. I started doing, like I said, I like to keep things natural. So I
Yeah.
started playing with polish and what have you. And then I evolved into actually doing some painting.
What's so interesting is that artists really do not have an age. I've always said artists are ageless. You can be 103 and start your art or continue your art. And to me, art is our legacy for all of us. There's different levels. I want to know when you're going to have your virtual gallery show. That's not something
It's not something I thought of, but it's certainly a good idea.
Donnie, I think your brilliant son can set up a virtual gallery for your show. And that would be wonderful, because that way people can not only see all of your art, but they can buy your art. And I think that's a way to go, because people ask me all the time about your art, and I've given you my information. When I put them on Facebook, people ask me, but I think having a virtual show would be wonderful.
Yeah, it's Donnie's always bugging me about, Mom, people need to see your stuff. And he's more enthusiastic about my art than he is about his art. And we are constantly pushing each other, because he has many talents. He's also a painter, watercolor.
I know.
And so it's something we share, because when Donnie was little, when he and his twin brother were tiny, and they had some health issues, as did I. And the one thing that would always calm them down was music. So I would keep music playing in their room. And when Donnie was first able to move his head, I had him in what we used to call a Tita babe. It was one of those little rockers. And he would bounce his head against, he'd bounce his head back until I push him right up against the speaker.
Oh.
And he would stay there as long as I let him. He just loved music from the very first thing he could do.
Well, it is something that I think I always say that lives in us from maybe past lives. And goes on to infinite journeys. I do believe that. I think it's our most honest voice, is our art is our most honest voice, which leads me to Ben and Donnie. who I still can't get over. Karen, can you, like, I said, we need music for this age march. And like in 3 weeks, and here who am I to tell him what to play? But I'm saying, no, I think I want a little bit of this or a little bit of that. How did you do that? How did you do this gorgeous music, which in what, 3 weeks or something like that?
Yes.
How did you two work on it? And even geographic, well, you work through Zoom, but how did you come up with the theme for the Age March?
Will I answer that, Donnie?
Head mate.
Yeah. Well, I guess, well, obviously we had some sort of brief from yourselves, and it was just, I've worked with advertising agencies before, so I've kind of used to working from a brief, and I like a lot of different genres of music, so I can usually handle most styles. So it kind of came second nature to me. So once I had an idea of what you wanted, it was a case of, putting together the instrumentation and for the first theme. And then the later theme, which had more of a strong beat, Donnie sent me a basic keyboard part. And obviously nowadays with the digital recording, you can send files back and forth. So I had a keyboard part and a basic drum to just work on and develop from there. And we just kind of built it up from there, and obviously added other elements like guitars and bass and things like that. So that's kind of how it came about.
It's mind-boggling, because I kept saying to Donnie, oh, I want something like, I think I said rap. I don't know what I said first. And whatever, and getting them all confused and everything. And then I said, oh, a Michael Jackson beat.
Yeah.
And then came this gorgeous music, which I'm going to say I would like to hear more of on our production. I would like to hear more of it. And with our next video of Age March, there is going to be more of it amplified. I wish everyone out there, please go to Age March 2021 so you can hear this music. It's gorgeous. The music alone, without Age March, I would love to hear on a what would you call it? I'm from a generation, I'm really dating myself, where I say records.
Well, digital media would be the correct term now.
Yes. Oh my God, I'm dating myself. Yeah, I would love to hear it on a separate video. And what would you call it? What is the title?
Well, it's Age March theme.
Age March theme.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. Not only the beat, but what's behind it. That rise, that stream. It's so contemporary. That's what I love about it.
Hear.
Oh no, it's gorgeous, and
it was quite interesting because the first theme I managed to marry, what Donnie had on the sort of Michael Jackson beat, the sort of synthesizer part. I managed to marry the original theme with that one, which I didn't expect to do, really, but when I heard what Donnie had given me to work with for the Michael Jackson beat type theme, I managed to take a bit of the theme from the original one, which is more like an Afro beat, if you remember.
Yes,
I do think
remember.
it's featured in the video as well. But yeah, I took a theme from that because I thought it's quite a nice theme, and it's amazing how it worked really well. But that's how it works with music production. Sometimes it can be just, sometimes accidents can come together and make something special, so, but I'm glad you liked it,
I don't like it, I love it. And really, is it possible, Donnie and Ben, that down the line, as the numbers are rising for Age March, that we could get that, just the music by itself, not with the show?
I'm sure we can do an extended one, but obviously we can chat.
Get it out there into the music world.
I think I just want to
Gorgeous.
mention that one of the podcasts that I do is with musicians like yourself. And I am always so impressed. Number one, how the camaraderie with musicians is something that you just don't find in any other industry.
It's
How you take your talents and you do marry them together. And it's just been so exciting as I was watching what the two of you were doing in the beginning and getting those snippets that you
Hmm.
proved that it's not about age, it's not about color, it's not about distance, it's not about how you were brought up, nothing. It's about bringing things together. And you've done that magnificently. And um, every time I listen to the music, I get chills. And
yeah.
I've sent it on to some of my producer friends to say, hey, do you hear this? And they're going, yeah, where's it from? And it's like, I'll tell you shortly. So,
All over,
No, what
all over.
Karen is saying is so true. I mean, it's the soul. The soul to me is the most important person we have within us.
I think with musicians, I think it's just, to me, it's the universal language, and I think musicians speak the same language that regardless of the style or the genre.
Yeah.
I think musicians just, it's the end product, and it's the good feeling and vibes that they get from music. It transcends every
does.
race and every age as well, and
Oh,
everything.
it does. It
It's
does.
or I call it the universal language, and I think it definitely it brings people together, and to me that's a great thing.
I love what you just said, the universal language, bringing people together as artists. And of course, you are very fortunate, as Donnie is and Anita is, to have the gifts. But the thing that I'm impressed with is that you're doing something with them. You really are. And Donnie, for example, your visuals, as you call them. I have a file now that's called Donnie. And when I open it, it has all these magnificent visuals. But sometimes I just click on them just to feel good. And I'll click, and this explosion of images and sound pour out. They are magnificent. They are alive paintings. How do you see your visuals in the future? I mean, I see them in a museum, and I also see them as executing ideas, corporate ideas, artistic ideas. I guess what I'm asking is how can you promote, how can the world see your work? Because artists don't like to promote themselves.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sometimes that is definitely the case. My mom has been pushing me in that regard for the longest time. Right, Mom?
Yes, Donnie.
I don't blame her.
But let me just cut it back to music for a second. With music, and the visual stuff I love, but first and foremost, musician first. Literally it takes, I just pull this out, and Ben and I, we just jump on a Zoom call, and within, like, I don't know, X amount of time, we're working some stuff out. And that's what I love about collaboration. That's what I love about art. And you can marry two musicians together first and foremost, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I think because I'm I'm just pretty, easygoing, and Ben is easygoing. And I think that's why, and so our collaboration, just like to the point now where Ben and I we've got some things, we're doing some things, we're anything that we work on, like, we're like, okay, so whereas Ben and I might talk, maybe we might communicate once a week, maybe once a week, whatever. Ben, how many times a week do we speak now?
Maybe one or two a week for a reasonably long period.
But as far as communication, just total overall communication.
Yeah, by email or text or WhatsApp.
We communicate every day.
Do you have a label? You two, I mean, I'm seeing this music, just what I know. I can imagine what else you have. But the music, for example, Age March, I'm very serious about it getting into, pardon my ignorance in the music business, but getting it into some, what would it be, a production company or something that it would have its label, you know, Donnie, Ben, this music. So it gets out into the world for movies, for TV series, networks. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well,
Would you be interested in that, both of you, or do you already do that?
Yeah. Well, we do it with our own productions anyway. We're trying to get them out there to as many publishers or producers, music, film producers, etc. We're trying to
How
do
do
that
you do
anyway.
that?
So
How do you do that?
well, that's Donnie's department. Over to you, Donnie.
I know a few music supervisors that I speak to on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and I'm constantly just pushing music out for sync licensing, music placement. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Also,
I've got some ideas.
But and just to circle back around to the visual side, from a visual aspect, I'm inspired by life in general, but I'm also inspired by people.
Mhm.
Ben could say something and I could be, I might be like, oh, or he could like play a piece of music, whatever, and I might be like, I got something, and just go and create something just off of what he played. Or I could something that I did, and I'm just like, I did that, and I want to create a visual to fit that. My mom's bottles, I'm inspired by my mom every day. So anything that my mother shows me or presents me or anything like that, I'm always inspired to go create. Going back, just taking it back to the Age March team, we talk about Suzy. Suzy's always been, she's like championing me and being, very kind to me. And
She's not kind. She says that you are the most gifted person she's met in decades. So she wants to help.
She's always, super sweet to me, and working with her has been great. Curnal, just as I said before, just when we did the live launch and just watching him work. I worked in production before, but watching him work and doing it live and just seeing what I'm inspired by that. Just watching him work and watching him and Matt. I'm inspired by Matt. I'm inspired by Traci. I'm inspired by Julie. When I had to talk with Julie, Julie was just like, Donnie, apologies, Donnie, you channel. And I'm appreciative.
She's your fan. She's a big fan of yours.
I'm appreciative of Julie and her words and how she works. Bill, I'm super appreciative of Bill. I'm appreciative of Bill and like big time, just because he's kind of soft spoken like I am, but he also when you speak to him, he has like a deep knowledge and understanding of. He knows what his skill set is. He knows how. He knows what he's doing, and he's just very easy to work with. So I'm a fan of his. So just the Age March team in general, I'm pretty much inspired by everybody on that team for specific reasons. And then obviously with Barbara, you and Karen, mega, and I'm not saying that just because you guys are here, but mega inspired by what you guys did. And I told you from the get-go, I said, I don't know about Age March, but the more I read about it and the more I find out about it, I'm like, this is cool.
Well, listeners, let me tell you, Donnie's making these numbers go up, because on YouTube, it's only been out, 6 days or something. It's been on YouTube, and the numbers are almost 600 today. So it's climbing because of you. I'm telling you, because Donnie is getting the word out there, and nobody's better at digital promoting. And also your images, you know, I don't even want to call them images, they're works of art. Each one is a work of art. And it's amazing, but I still want to know, I think that you need you need like a separate production company, or for example, this music for Age March, it's got to be heard. It's got to almost be maybe by itself, not even on the production, but it could, you know, compose for Age March. But the music is just gorgeous. That sound, I wished everyone could hear it right now. That kind of sound like,
Well,
you know, like,
well, even in regards to music, how I create music or how I even think of music, that all starts from, I think, from when you're, you know, when you're super young. You can tell, like, I mean, today it's common. You could find a, I don't know, 21-year-old, and they're listening to music of today. And if you talk to them about anything else, they just know about music of today. Now, to me personally, you know, I always look at that and like, I don't understand that. And the reason why I don't understand it is because I'm just like, wait a minute, you had a mother and hopefully a mother and a father to maybe just to explain like what the music that from their generation and then their generation and their generation before. And sometimes even my mom has to remind me, listen, not everybody was as fortunate as you were, because I was blessed, you know what I mean? Blessed beyond belief from the musical backdrop I had. From my father, I got Motown, Stax era, and everything you can think of.
oh
From
God.
from my mother, I got, you know, from my mother, listen, Cecilia Cruz, Linda Ronstadt, Stevie Nicks, all these people, like I only know them because of my mother. Dan Fogelberg, uh, um, John Denver, all these fantastic
My God,
songwriters.
that really is.
I know of them because of my mother. And the 80s are, you know, I love, that's my decade, whatever, but the 70s mean as much to me as the 80s do music wise, because that was the age of songwriters. And that's how Ben and I, we connect too, because Ben and I, we call it, we just call it shop talk, where we can just talk literally just about shop. Him and I are big purveyors of groove music and just like classic rock, classic pop, R&B, you know, you name it, whatever. So we get into that. We have our little bag that we get into, and we just have that type of conversation.
You dream
So
of music?
yeah, all the time, all the time.
How did you and Ben actually meet?
Yeah,
You are in the
good
US
question.
and Ben is in Scotland, and a white man, a black man, and I don't know if you're the same age or not, and that doesn't matter, but here you've come together. How did you do this?
Well, we were working together before Age March. Ben, you wanna step in?
Well, I was just going to say I'm older than Donnie, so just to clear that one up.
They're both they're babies, actually.
No. Actually, I think it was a new magazine, an online magazine nowadays called Bandit.
Yes, it was.
And it's for music industry professionals and, you know, managers, music managers who can advertise in this monthly magazine. And, you know, for a small fee, you can get a subscription to it, and it gives you, you know, a writer or musicians the opportunity to pitch their music to various people in the industry. So it was Donnie that, you know, there was various people, and I sent one out, and Donnie picked up on a couple of my tracks, I think, and got in touch by email. And that's really where it started, isn't it, Donnie? I mean, we just took it from there, and it took a little while to get things moving, but you know, we got there, and it's just, you know, all I could say, Donnie's a really good friend and a great guy to work with now. So, you know, even apart from the music side, I've made a new friend, so it's great.
What's your next project? Are you working on another music project?
Lots of projects, Donnie. Over to you.
We have
I
a,
think,
yeah,
I
it's
think,
a lot.
I think a lot's going to happen. And again, I'm really interested in helping to get your music out there. Not that you need me. It sounds like you both do. Well, you have a big background, both of you, but still, I'm thinking anything that happens to me in Hollywood with my constant options that tank, but then they come again, like if there's a TV series or a movie or something, I wouldn't sign a contract unless I said these guys have to do the music for it.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
You never know. The thing with artists that's so great too, and don't you think, all of you, age has nothing to do with it, because it's something inside, being 84, I hate it when people say to me, well, isn't it you're doing another book? Isn't it time to rest on your laurels? Isn't that stupid? What laurels? What laurels? I'm only happy when I'm writing another book or doing something, So I think the world of artists,
Yeah.
they're ageless. And that leads me to Anita. One question I want to ask you: what inspires your bottles, the design of your bottles and the shape of your bottles? And what do you have in mind now for the next set?
Well, actually, my bottles are totally spontaneous.
Mhm.
It depends on what I have around me. It depends on the mood I'm in. It depends upon the material that's available, because I order some, strings and what have you. Sometimes I find objects that inspire me, but I never used paint until several people who had seen my bottles said, do you ever use paint? Do you ever, do colored bottles? And I said, well, I haven't, but I can. And so I have several people who just wanted that. So I started doing that. But I'm inspired by the shape of bottles. I started with mostly wine bottles, but I also have some unique shapes. Excuse me a moment and I'll see if I have one.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let me get my orange one. Wait a second. Look at the color on this.
Wow.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Very nice.
Isn't that just gorgeous?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it just makes me happy to look at it.
I found this bottle in a job that my husband and I, as I said, we do clean outs and dump runs and things like that. And I love the
Oh.
shape of this.
Oh, isn't that something?
Yeah,
I wonder what was in there.
it was a liqueur, a bourbon whiskey. And
Oh,
so-
that's interesting. There's a lot of different bottles for that.
Right. And I just didn't want to change it that much because I liked it. It had this lovely top. So I just I was inspired by what was and tried to make, emphasize that. And then there's other things like my friends at church, we have different prayer groups. And so I started making, we have old jars a lot of times. And I just think it's terrible to throw away a nice candle jar.
Jars. Oh, I can you hold that up a little, Anita? Oh my God, look at that blue.
Yeah, and so I make these for friends, and I call them prayer jars. So they, when they want to say a prayer for someone, they think of them and they throw it in the jar. So I have several of those that I've given as gifts.
You really need to have that virtual show, because I'm looking at all your bottles back there too. And I wished everyone could see the close up of them. They're just, Donnie, do you remember the painter Morandi?
Yes.
Morandi, yeah, and his wonderful paintings of bottles reminds me of that.
Well, I'm attracted to figures and
I can,
So like I tend to make things look like people, but they really aren't.
You do. That's why I have this other one. I just love the figure on it. Yeah, your drawings of figures are wonderful. They're very kind of impressionistic.
Basically, yeah. I've never really been
and primitive, some of them.
Well, that's when I was in pottery, and I was never really good at it. I had just started it as a craft to do something after, when my kids were got to the point they were in middle school, and I took a class. and is a wonderful artist. And she told me, I said, I really want to learn technique, you know, because I like throwing art, but I also like just creating handcraft. And she said, you know what, you're a natural primitive, and I don't want you to learn until, she said, I don't want you to develop a talent beyond what you have. I just want you to learn how to use it. So
That's very interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I always say you can't teach talent. You can develop technique through working. And you know, the same with Donnie and Ben too in music. I mean, music lives inside of you. Don't you find the techniques change all the time from doing it, you know, from doing the work.
Yeah, keep learning all the time. You know, I say that to people all the time. Still learning from people. Learn from Donnie. I've learned from
Yeah.
my musical heroes. I learned
Yeah.
from engineers and
Yeah.
producers and things like that. So it's an
Sound.
accumulation.
Look at your piano there. I listen to Amy Winehouse every day now. You know,
Yeah.
you go through different
Oh yeah.
periods.
Yeah.
Now
I
we're
do
talking.
Billie Holiday and Amy Winehouse are my go girls as I'm writing my new book. I have them on all the time.
right.
You go in sometimes Miles Davis, you know, you go to different
I love about Miles.
Yes.
Yes.
oh, I love Miles. Oh my God.
I'm
Yeah.
going to give the three of you a challenge, okay? Because I'm really good at challenging people.
Okay.
This is what I'd like to see. I would like to see you have this virtual bottle show,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the music behind it would be produced by the two of you, because you're going to feel what she's done in her bottle work. And that's going to make us feel it.
Just
even
gave me a chill. That would be
You know,
magnificent.
I'm good at telling people what they should do. I'm not sure how to put it together.
Well-
I may have to reach out to Colonel or somebody, but I
Mm-hmm.
really do think
Great idea,
there's
Karen.
something
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
that, you know, the first time you showed me one of the bottles from Anita, it was just one. And it was like, it's pretty.
Oh, my
But
tall beige
But
one.
it
Yeah.
wasn't until I started seeing more, and Donnie sent me some pictures, and it was like, wait a second, there's more than just a pretty jar, a a pretty bottle.
Mhm.
There's life here.
Well, there's a voice. The
Absolutely.
thing is, there's a voice. It's a painting. And I'm not saying this because you're Donnie's mom.
Mhm.
I really love art. And
I can
I've
tell.
always,
I can tell.
I've always haunted museums. You're so lucky in New York that you have the MoMA, the Whitney, you know, all that. When my daughter Suzy was at NYU, I would visit her as often as I could, but I would spend all my time at the museum.
Same.
Oh my God, I love art. So I really think that's a great idea, Karen. And Anita, would you be up for that, a virtual show?
Well, you know what? People have been telling me for years I have to do something with my bottles. So Donald was constantly saying, you know, Mom, we got to do something. It's okay, fine. I'll make the bottles. You tell me what to do, because that's what I do. I am by just as background.
Well,
I'm just
Donnie
like-
can promote. Go ahead.
No. I was saying that a lot of my art comes from the fact that I had some challenges as a child. I had undiagnosed dyslexia. I saw things backwards. And so it was challenging going through school. So I always had to learn how to make things look normal, but I would come about it from a different aspect.
And you
So
worked in that field too.
I worked with special needs,
Yeah.
and my second career was that. And I found that just like when I had children, I play music. I mean, these are people of all levels of challenges, down to some who could barely move their head. And I did recreation with them. So the first thing that I started doing with them was having music. I would play different music until I saw a movement or, you know, some interest. And then I would stay on that particular music and I would grow from that, and I would learn how to communicate with whomever. And then I worked with a lot of children, they were young adults who were diagnosed with autism. And they can be very controlling of things that they want to do. I had one who didn't want to let go of a crayon. And
Mhm.
so I figured I started playing music when he was drawing, because he would draw until it went right through the paper onto the desk. He wouldn't let go. So
Oh,
when
yeah.
I started playing, when I found the music that he liked, then he would bring in something, it was, if it was something, I remember for him, it was mostly like Mozart. And if it was a big sweeping sound, he would take his pin up or his pencil, and then I could move the paper. So I started teaching him to use different things by the sound of the music. So when I wanted him to change and put on a different color or crayon or whatever, I would change the music so he would lift the paper, because he would start to feel like he had the flow.
Really interesting.
And
That's
so
very
it really worked well, and we started doing collages, the same thing. I would have a lot of different material in front of them. And then we would play music, and it would be glue, and they could do whatever they wanted. And we'd make wooden collages based on, just inspiration, because I knew how difficult it was for me to communicate and learn. And I found out everybody has the ability to learn. It's just finding that key, finding what, and music does it.
That's what art is, and that's what music is.
Mhm.
From the soul to the sound, or the
Right.
or the visual. Has any of you noticed that when I send you an email that my words are backwards and never, you probably think, doesn't she know about spell check? I've always been dyslexic,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
And I've really struggled with that, but
Yeah.
my typing is vile. And here I am
Mm.
a writer. So when I send my manuscripts to the publisher, I have to be very sure, to get somebody to help me make sure it's all clean and everything.
No,
But
Barbara,
anyway, getting back to all of you, I know Karen wants to say something. I was just going to say, because this could go on forever, right, Karen? There's so many. I was just going to say, I'm going to look forward to more of their music, hearing more of the Age March music and the virtual art show. And then Karen, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, when you were talking about dyslexia, okay, let's think about the time that the three of us basically grew up. It wasn't something that we talked about.
No,
Same thing with autism.
exactly.
So many people who are out there in the creative world have these different neurological conditions.
It's true.
And you know what? That's why we all have to come together. We need awareness and we need to share. And it is a delight to be amongst individuals like yourself, because I had a learning disability. I didn't know it until I went back to college when I was 60 years old.
Mm.
And all of a sudden it was like, hey,
Yay.
I know how to learn now. I couldn't really learn in my early years.
I get it.
And
I get
Yeah.
it.
I could learn because I was doing my learning by writing,
Same
Mhm.
here. Same
speaking,
here.
not necessarily reading a book cover to cover. And so this is what you all have shown us today, is that we have these wonderful things deep inside of us.
Yes.
We let them come out. We bring
Yes.
beauty to the world. So we got to have you all back.
Yes, to continue a discussion about artists.
Absolutely. And Donnie, I'm going to be in touch with you for this show for your mom.
Okay. Also,
Yeah, I
too,
think that's
you
important.
you mentioned you asked how Ben and I connected, and we literally connected through an ad on Bandit. Usually, sometimes they'll send me an email and they'll say, "Hey, do you want to run an ad?" And I'm lucky it doesn't charge me anything, and I'm just like, "Yeah, sure." So when Ben saw that ad, and he submitted music, and my friend Christian on my team, he heard the music, and he was just like, check this out. And I checked it out, and then I got in touch with Ben, and I was, Ben is just great. And this is like, how long ago is this now, Ben? Like,
Is
was
it
that like
a
8
year
months
and a
ago? A year ago, right? A year?
Yeah, but maybe slightly longer.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe longer. Yeah.
I think it was
So,
before COVID hit. I think.
yeah, this is before. That's why I was saying, we were working together before Age March. But I also wanted to say, in regards to connections, I want to, say shout out to my aunt JD, because she's the one who connected me to all of you. And even from a music perspective, to talk about dyslexia, Prince wasn't like the greatest speller, in his lyrics, lyric-wise. He's a great lyricist, but he wasn't like, his grammar wasn't always great, whatever. But that's a great thing about art. Like, who cares? Who gives who
I mean,
cares? Who cares? It's
Right.
I don't care. Like, I don't care about his
Interesting.
grammar. I don't care about his grammar. Like that, I don't care about any of that stuff. It's irrelevant. That is the thing I think that I love the most about art, is that it doesn't have to be friggin' pitch perfect. It doesn't have to be music today. You talk about vinyl and you talk about records, and you feel like I'm a retro head. So I work in the digital space. Sure, and yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. But I love, my father's 4-track and his Buick was that was my mother's 1977 Vega, her
Done.
green Vega.
I think we know now that you get very inspired by music, because Donald is quiet most of the time, but once you start talking about music, you have to find the off switch.
I wish that next time, Karen, we had a way, I'm a technological moron, I really am. But we had a way that we could go in and hear their music. Oh my God. So my question is, can you tell the listeners how they can find you? First of all, Donnie, how can the listeners connect to you if they want some gorgeous visuals to promote their work?
Visuals, you can just reach out to me, donnie.osborne@gmail.com. It's just donnie.osborne@gmail.com. In regards to visuals.
In regards to visuals,
Right,
yes.
in regards to visuals, yes.
And also, Ben, how can people reach out to you? And I guess I should have asked Donnie that too, to not only hear your music, but if they want music composed.
Yeah, sure. Well, again, an email probably is the best. My email would be info@benrose, BENROSE, guitar, GUITAR.co.uk. A bit of a mouthful, but it's info@benroseguitar.co.uk.
And also they could contact Karen, and they can contact the RANT, and they can contact agemarch.org, because I have both of you, all of you, on agemarch.org under our team with your information. So do go to agemarch.org, and to be continued. I
Absolutely.
can't thank you enough for giving your
Thank you.
time today. Excuse
Thank
my
you, Barbara.
rambling and everything, but I just got really excited. I mean, what you do, everything, and the virtual gallery. I can't wait to go, Anita.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the exposure, and you are inspiring. So there you go. All of it is a circle.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Karen, my partner in crime, who allows me to have a voice every week. And we'll do this again, and stay safe. That's the thing. Stay
Thank you
safe.
so much. And thank you, Karen.
Oh, you're welcome. And for our listeners, the rant will not be on next week. There will be a special show on next week called Ask Aunt Frida, and that's all I'm going to tell you. So please watch for it, and the rant will return in 2 weeks. So everybody have a great day. Stay safe. Wear your mask. And Ben, come visit us in the U.S.
But one day, maybe. Nice to meet you all.
Same here. Bye-bye now.
Bye.